afternoon, South Africa, and a very, very warm welcome to you. This is Afternoon Express, and my name is Jeannie D. Now, according to the World Health Organization, workplace burnout has become such a serious health issue and is now a legitimate syndrome. So to add on to that, it has been discovered that more than 40% of all work-related illnesses are due to work-related stress, major depression, burnout, and anxiety disorders, which is why today on the show we are de-stressing and discussing the causes of depression in the workplace with psychiatrist Professor Renata Schoeman. Then we chat to HR specialist Cindy Hendricks about some of the things companies can do to promote wellness in the workplace. Plus, we meet Kim Rutgers, a registered dietitian and the spokesperson for ADSA, to chat about the link between stress, nutrition, and digestion. It's amazing how it's all connected. So please do join the conversation with us online and tell us how you deal with day-to-day stress in your life. Please do tweet us at Afternoon Chat using the official hashtag Afternoon Express or comment on our Facebook page.
Clover fresh milk is way better. Made with love by Clover.
Good afternoon, South Africa. My name is Palisa Dembe, and indeed, that is the question of the day.
Yeah.
How do you get over day-to-day stresses? I mean, Chef Aya, how do you do it?
You know, most of the time I'll cook and then I'll meditate. That works for me.
Cooking and meditating, that sounds exactly... Look, I can eat the food, and that definitely decreases my stress, and that's exactly how we're getting you over this hump day, it being a Wednesday. In the kitchen, we're bringing you something sweet. Chef Aya, what do you have up your sleeve?
So we're going to be making the beautiful... cream. We're going to be making beautiful with the milk tart carbs. You know, using our fresh milk. So Clover fresh milk. So it's going to be beautiful cream tart that we're going to show you how to make it from like from scratch.
Oh my goodness!
And then we're going to also be making it with crust. So you can use different things to make it. But along the way, we'll show you how to make it perfect for yourself.
I love that. This is perfect. Look, fresh cream milk tart mugs is all it's about. If you want to try this at home, SMS the keyword Clover to 33650. But for now, over to you, Jeannie.
Clover fresh milk is way better. Made with love by Clover.
Depression is a common psychiatric disorder which can be really costly. According to studies done by the South African Journal of Psychiatry, the prevalence of depression within the workplace has such a significant impact on employees' productivity, and at its worst, one of the symptoms can include cognitive impairment. So Professor Renata Schoeman joins us to discuss what causes depression in the workplace and why it seems to be on the rise. Welcome to Afternoon Express.
Good afternoon, Jeannie.
I always thought work was a four-letter word, but now science is just proving it. Why are so many people getting so stressed at work?
There's various factors. On one side, we can look at the employee factors, on the other side, on the organizational factors. We tend not to take care of ourselves anymore. The world has become so fast-paced. We never switch off from technology anymore. We don't sleep, we don't exercise, we eat junk. So that's all of the things that we should do that prevent us from getting stressed and then develop complications of stress. At the same time, in the work and the organizations, there's more demands. Again, being online 24/7 and being available, and the information overload we get. But then there's also the financial pressures we face, there's the job instability, and often there's corporate cultures which the values and the organization as such is not productive to physical or mental well-being.
Yeah. Do you think if you're the type of person who's susceptible to these kind of, to stress and depression, do you think it's possible that you could have a normal, happy life at home and personally and privately, and then be super stressed or to a point of dysfunction at work and vice versa? Or is it kind of linked? Will one person who is generally feeling a little bit low at home carry that onto the workplace and then vice versa?
It can be either or.
Yeah.
So it's very difficult to say leave your things at home. It doesn't work that way. You can try to maintain your composure at home, but things might bother you in the back of your mind. But I always think of it as three things. There's your physical health, there's your home life, and there's your work life. And as long as two of them maintain, you can sort of like cope with difficulties in the third one. But it's when two of them falls apart that we really, really struggle.
Yeah. So what do you think has changed? Why do you think people are neglecting their inner self so much?
The one thing is time. We always say, I don't have time, and it's not true. If you invest in yourself and you make time, you will find time for things that's important. And if you just look at ourselves, what is the first thing that usually happen when you get busy is you stop exercising, you cut in your sleep, you don't pay attention to your diet, you neglect your friends, all those things that's so important to make you resilient to be able to cope with the stress at work.
Exactly. So then how should people be able to cope with it? Like, what are some tips that you can give people, like, to recognize firstly when they are slipping into a depression? Like, I think if you are in a toxic environment where everybody is kind of high stress, high pressure, how do you identify when it's not normal?
So often people will talk about burnout. Now, burnout is only an occupational phenomenon. It's not a medical disorder. But when you start to get negative thoughts and really doubt yourself and feel useless, worthless, hopeless, then the alarm bells should sound. Also, everyone doesn't necessarily become tearful or have a depressed mood when they are down. You might just lose interest in things that you used to enjoy. So if you don't enjoy your hobbies anymore, or you don't even find joy in your friends or your family or your children or your pets, whatever the case might be, that is big alarm bells for us. So that loss of pleasure, of interest, of drive. And then when you start to wake up every morning and it's difficult. Also then when we start to have disturbances in your sleeping pattern or in your appetite, either more or less.
So I think burnout eventually becomes like adrenal fatigue, which eventually becomes like, and can lead to autoimmune disorders. Why is it so important to sort it out in the beginning?
The burnout part, it's so important to prevent it. As you said, if you neglect it, that constant stress and the cortisol release can cause neurotoxic effects in the brain that can literally burn out your serotonin, your dopamine, your good neurotransmitters. So by the time a patient presents to a doctor or a psychologist, it's already advanced to a stage where they will fulfill a clinical diagnosis, most likely of anxiety or depression, which is maybe more than just burnout.
How can you recognize where other people in your work environment are suffering from depression or feeling a little bit low or burnt out, and then what can you do to assist?
I think the first things that we often see is the colleague that starts to withdraw. They don't want to make small talk anymore. They don't meet up in the cafeteria anymore. Or people that become ratty and irritable and short-tempered, where previously they had a lot of patience. And that's maybe the first thing that you see. Also where people start to work harder and harder and harder, but the productivity is not there, so they're not working smart, and they're doing things over and over.
That's such a good point, actually, because I think I read somewhere that like depression and burnout costs the country's GDP like over 300 billion rand or something ridiculous like that. I mean, that is a lot of money, but it is obviously because of a lack of productivity.
It is, and if you look at that cost to the GDP, which is divided in two parts, so it's absenteeism from work, but also presenteeism. Absenteeism is a small portion of that. The biggest problem is people that's ill at work. Not saying that people shouldn't be at work. Work is really good for you.
Because they're not going to be functional at work if they're not feeling their best either.
But the problem is a lot of people don't get help and don't seek help because of the stigma that there's associated with mental health disorders. So they're scared of speaking up or scared to access services.
Because if you're feeling low, I mean, is that, I mean, nowadays I think it is changing, but before certainly, I mean, would you be able to say to your boss, I'm not coming to work today because I'm just feeling, I don't feel like it.
Do you need a mental health day?
I need a mental health day.
Definitely not. And that's one of the first things why programs like today is so important, so that we can open this conversation, that it's out there. Mental health disorders is nothing different than physical disorders like diabetes or a fractured leg. Yet then we easily support people. But we should also support and open the conversation and destigmatize mental illness in the workplace.
You know how somebody can be a functional alcoholic to a point. Do you think somebody can be a functional depressant?
Most people with proper support are functioning. There's very few people that's living with depression and anxiety that's not functioning, but they should get proper treatment. Coming back to the presenteeism, as we mentioned, a lot of people don't want to be absent from work or can't afford to be a day off work because no work is no pay. Or if you look higher up in the corporate ladder, the leaders can't be absent from work or think they can't be absent from work because they have to be strong and set the example. But they are the decision makers, and when you're depressed, you can't take clear decisions.
And then other people have to look up at you, so then there's so much pressure on that person. So how can you cope?
It is, and yet, if you show a little bit of vulnerability, we don't have to over-disclose at work, but if you show that you're human, other people will most likely also be more comfortable in seeking support.
Yeah, it's such a fascinating conversation to me, and I feel like we've only just scratched the surface. So you're going to be spending the day with us, and we're going to be chatting about it a little bit more later. So a poor company culture leads to less productive employees, and after the break, we chat to HR specialist Cindy Hendricks on how companies can promote wellness in the workplace. Please do connect with us online and tell us how you deal with day-to-day stress in your life, and please remember to use the hashtag Afternoon Express in your comments. Welcome back to Afternoon Express. So this week we are featuring LG's groundbreaking air conditioners. The dual inverter compressor technology saves up to 70% on energy costs, and recent tests have shown that an LG air conditioner can keep your home warm during the winter for approximately $8 a day. Ah, gee, where was that last night?
I'm telling you.
Shivering at
Now
home.
listen, Jeannie, this combined with LG's unique skewer fan eliminates unnecessary noise and allows for smooth operation. So the whole family will be able to enjoy a quiet, peaceful night's sleep and a cozy, warm winter during those cold nights.
Oh, I'll keep you warm, Pally. Toxic company culture, poor leadership, and micromanaging are just some of the things that lead to a really unhappy working environment. HR specialist Cindy Hendricks joins us on the couch to chat about what companies can do to promote wellness in the workplace and keep talented and top-performing employees happy. It makes so much sense to me. It's amazing that more people don't do it. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
If you consider the amount of time that people spend at work and the amount of effort that they put at work, how is it that sometimes, and more often than not, so many people are so unhappy at work?
So it starts with a toxic company culture, and some of the things you've mentioned. So it's things like micromanagement, low or no trust in employees and their capabilities. Another thing that affects employees is if their personal values clashes with that of the company. So things like I'm family orientated, but the company expects me to be available 24/7. And those are the things that sort of make them unhappy. Inconsistent treatment between employees and favoritism. So those are the things that, you know, just affect people negatively.
Do you think if somebody isn't doing what they're passionate about, like it's not like their dream job, do you think if they had worked in a good work environment, they would still be happy with it?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Or do you think somebody's only happy when they're doing 100% what their dream and what their passion job is?
I think there's a portion of wanting to do what you're passionate about, but the environment definitely does contribute towards that. Like you said, you spend so many hours of the 24 hours we spend at work, and so it's got to be comfortable and it's got to be conducive, you know, to be able to operate.
Exactly. Have you watched the documentary? And everybody at home must watch this. It's such a good documentary. It's one by Michael Moore called Where to Invade Next, and he travels across the world to find some of the places with the best education system or the best productivity. And the country with the best productivity, I think, was Italy. And they've got the least working hours in the world. They've got the best holidays. They've got the best healthcare. They've got the companies just look after their employees. So I think security and job satisfaction are two different things.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you think people are more led by security than they are by other kinds of happiness, like the content, I suppose, of the work that they're doing?
Yeah. So it's 50-50. You get types of people that just work for a paycheck, and then they just do that. And then there are people that work because they are passionate about it. And so I think companies need to be able to cater to both those sorts of people, and still help them be happy at work.
Yeah. I think bosses don't really want to micromanage, but I think, and I imagine you're the boss, your only focus is productivity and getting the best and the most out of those hours that people are at work. But don't you think making sure everybody is happy is micromanaging to a point? And how can, I suppose, managers and bosses make sure that their employees are happy?
So there's a number of things I think that you need to be able to do. So you need to, I think in this day and age, flexibility is a big thing for many people, young and old. I mean, you can say millennials want flexibility, but I think it talks to all people, young and old. And people want to be able to work whenever and wherever. And with technology, I think we're able to do that today. So this sort of idea of clock watching or being in an office, it doesn't talk, you know, it doesn't speak to people today. So people want to be able to be themselves and work in the best way that suits them.
Yeah. I think clocking in is almost insulting, because I know for me, and I mean, I've never worked in an office in my entire life, thankfully, but I can imagine if somebody was expecting me to be somewhere at a time and I had to clock out at a time, I would sit there getting anxiety, feeling watched, and I wouldn't feel productive because, you know, you get boosts of energy when you are inspired, I suppose. Well, that's my job. But I suppose it's like that in any kind of career. I mean, but is it realistic to give your employees a lot of freedom to be able to decide for themselves what their working hours are?
It's very company specific, and I think industry specific. In a service sort of environment or industry, it's very difficult to, you know, you've got to be there. But then you've got to allow people to service the clients in the way that best suits them. And then I think for industries where you can allow people to not be in the office, companies should really consider that. Because the reality is that people are at work from 8 till 5, but how productive are they really during that time? People are on Facebook, people are on the internet, and very
constantly.
low, you know, they spend very little hours actually doing any work.
Yeah, low productivity rates.
And so output-based, so companies should possibly start looking at outputs as opposed to clocking in and out.
I'm honestly most productive at like 1 o'clock in the morning. That's when I get all of my admin done. So I would definitely not survive in an office. But now, just say you are in an office environment. What tips do you have for employees and employers to kind of open communication channels so that these kind of things can be straightened out, so that everyone is happy at work? I think happiness at work is so important.
So I think companies can look at the policies, and companies can look at allowing people the sort of flexibility or extended time off. Sick leave as an example, companies are, or the employee gets 30 days sick leave for 3 years, and so companies can look at extending sick leave as an example when people are perhaps depressed and they are going for treatment.
Can you get into trouble or fired for or dismissed from work if you do take time off for being depressed?
No. So yes and no. So the short answer is yes. You could be fired, but the company has to follow a process. So if you are diagnosed with depression and you've got to go to a facility, as an example, they've got to allow that. And the company can only really fire you or dismiss you when they've followed a process and they've established medically that you are incapable of doing your job.
Wow. You know, obviously we work in a really amazing TV studio, but one of my favorite things to say is we're in the business of fun, and you spend so much time with the people around you. They become like your family.
Yes.
So if you are not enjoying it, nobody else around you is going to enjoy it either.
Yes.
So you've just got to try and put out as much positive energy to the people around you as possible. So hopefully that works in the corporate world as well. Thank you so much for being here. We'll chat about this more later.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm learning so much from this discussion. And we've asked you on social media, how do you deal with day-to-day stresses? And we've got some incredible, relaxing suggestions coming up here. Itumeleng says, I lay back and listen to music. Ukotso says, well, I actually take a jog when I'm feeling a little stressed, or read one of my favorite books. And he definitely used that hashtag Afternoon Express. So Pray here says, I watch movies and I tend to eat a lot. Well, whilst you're watching movies, I hope you're always tuning into Afternoon Express. And this last one, which I definitely relate to, Samkeli Siwe says, I pray about it. Shout out to you, girl. And then sometimes talk about it. Well, let's keep talking. Let's keep sharing. After the break, we prepare a mouth-watering milk tart mugs with Chef Aya.
Express yourself. What does it mean to be the face of Ponds? A few words come to mind. Empowered. Glamorous. With new opportunities. And if you think you have what it takes, simply enter by purchasing any Ponds product and visiting faceofponds.co.za to upload your photo, your bio, and the last 4 digits of your product's unique barcode. I am the face of Ponds. Are you?
Clover fresh milk is way better. Made with love by Clover.
Good afternoon. We're back on Afternoon Express, and we're about to whip up something truly magical. Now, we all love a good classic milk tart, but today we're leveling up, and we are making this incredible Clover recipe, fresh milk tart mugs. And to try this at home, SMS the keyword Clover to 33650. Remember, SMSs cost R1.50, and free SMSs do not apply. Chef Aya,
Yes, love.
you are taking me back to a South African classic. I think every South African home loves milk tart.
The fact that it's winter now, this recipe is perfect for winter. So let's just get in with our Clover fresh milk. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to put like 2 cups of milk. The idea is to boil them up. So while we're doing that, I've got my egg on the side here. So this is an egg and a half. So I'm going to mix in it. I've got flour here.
I've got
Or you can do that. I've got flour. I've got corn flour here.
Okay.
You mix those together. You can use a whisk if you want to. Actually, the whisk would be better.
Would it be
yeah,
better?
it would be better. And then a touch of salt with a half a cup of sugar. So you use custard sugar for this, but you can also use your normal sugar if you don't have custard sugar, but you'll have to like stir the entire time for it.
Oh, okay.
Exactly.
So basically anything that you have at home, as long as it is as close as possible to the recipe.
Exactly. So, you know, it's all about also you don't want you to spend a lot of money, wasting money buying stuff on the side where you have them at home, you know what I mean?
Yes.
So with that, I'm going to add just a touch of this vanilla essence, just for a small flavor, and then I'm going to add more to it. And then while this milk is like cooking, this is what I want to do. The milk will be boiling, right? And then when the milk is boiling, you just scoop it out a bit.
Okay.
So the idea is not to let it boil too much. You don't want your egg to scramble on the thingy.
Oh, yes, but we do need a little heat.
Exactly. So after like mixing all of that, you put the whole thing back in the pan.
Okay.
Exactly.
Let me put this
Look
together
at that.
quite
Look at
nicely.
you.
The consistency is coming quickly together, pretty easy. If you want to try this at home, SMS the keyword Clover to 33650. Chef Aya is the one with the muscle, so he has taken over. But I assure you, this recipe is simple at home. Dive into your pantry, whatever ingredients you have to make this work, I'm sure you can use.
So when you're done pouring your mixture in the pan, don't worry about it not looking nice and thick consistency. You just leave it there for like 10 to 15 minutes, like on lower heat, and then the egg will help it come into the consistency you want.
Okay.
But now this is what we had.
I was going to say, don't burn yourself.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I've got flour. So this is the consistency you're looking for. Look at this.
Beautiful. Very thick, very creamy.
Exactly, no lumps, nothing. So you must use your whisk for this. And then after that, after you finish with this, you add a bit of butter into it to kind of give it more flavor in it, and you finish it off with your vanilla
More
paste.
vanilla.
Exactly. And then after this, we're just gonna be scooping. So while I'm doing this, can you please just scoop some crust in there? So these are pastry crust. If you want to, you can make your own at home with like flour, eggs, and sugar.
Yes.
I mean flour, butter, and sugar. Or you can just use tennis biscuits.
So basically all we're doing now is
Just
assembling this mag.
Exactly.
Making sure that you have crunch, cream,
There you go.
balanced out perfectly.
And also, you don't have to like follow how we do it. You can play around with it. You can use different berries for it. You can use different spices that you have. You know,
Yes.
your nutmegs go well with it very well. You know, you can
I
use,
love my cinnamon
exactly.
with
But the
it.
cinnamon you're gonna put on top. You know, you can't miss cinnamon on that. It has to go in there.
It is
Look
a
at how
fan
beautiful
favorite.
that is.
Coming together very, very nicely. I would definitely add berries to this. Have a bit of a fruity twist to it. Or if you're into your nuts, you add some coconut.
And I feel if you're also into colors and playing around with your kids, you can like scoop this in 3 different kind of containers.
Yes.
Like put you use your food coloring, red, green, and yellow. You know, and then just assemble it very well to like nice colors for your kids.
Absolutely. And we just left June. And June is, of course, Pride Month.
Exactly.
So coming through with those rainbow colors would come into together so nicely.
How beautiful
Clean
is
it
that?
up. I'm just going to dive straight in. If you want to try this at home, SMS the keyword Clover to
I'll let you have the first
33650. Thank you so much. And you could be tasting this delicious milk tart at home.
Beautiful. Perfect for winter. While you're watching Afternoon Express.
Oh, how delicious does that look? It's literally the perfect day for a milk tart mug today. After the break, we chat to dietitian Kim Rutgers. She's going to tell me exactly how many milk tart mugs I can eat. So we're going to be discussing the link between stress, nutrition, and digestion in the workplace. So please do connect with us online. We love hearing from you, and there's so many comments coming in that we're going to read at the end of the show. So please do tell us how you deal with day-to-day stress in your life. So remember, use the hashtag Afternoon Express in your comments.
Express yourself. What does it mean to be the face of Ponds? A few words come to mind. Empowered. Glamorous. With new opportunities. And if you think you have what it takes, simply enter by purchasing any Ponds product and visiting faceofponds.co.za to upload your photo, your bio, and the last 4 digits of your product's unique barcode. I am the face of Ponds. Are you?
Welcome back to Afternoon Express. So even though our bodies are so well designed to cope with short bursts of life-saving stress, prolonged stress can actually take a toll on the body. It's so bad for you. Now, research has shown that individuals suffering from chronic stress are more prone to overeating and consume less nutritious foods that are high in highly processed carbohydrates, sugar, salt, and unhealthy fats. So dietitian Kim Rutgers now joins us to chat about the link between stress, nutrition, and digestion. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
This is my favorite conversation ever to have because the gut is literally more important than the brain. If the gut's not functioning, the brain isn't working. So, can you please explain for me what exactly is happening internally with the body when the body goes into stress?
Okay, first of all, we need to just look at the body as different systems. Although it's one entire body, there's different systems that make up the body.
Yeah.
So there's a system for temperature control, and there's also for digestion, for example. But I mean, when there's something happening in a stressful situation, there's a system for that as well.
Yeah.
So if you could imagine in a stressful condition or a situation, all the other systems shut down because the body needs to work with this situation happening right now.
Yeah.
And so if digestion is shut down, it's going to cause digestion problems like acid reflux, malabsorption of the food that you've just eaten, nausea, cramping, all those kind of digestive problems.
Now, I know women often joke about it because it happens once a month, and often when we go through stressful environments, when they say, oh, I'm eating my feelings. But some people tend to gain weight when they're stressed, and others tend to lose weight. How does that work? And how can I force myself to be the one that loses weight when I get stressed?
Well, initially, the hormones that do control the eating does kind of stop you from wanting to eat initially, like in the first part of stress.
Yeah.
But for some people, it's going to carry on where they don't want to eat really, or the appetite is just gone, where others, again, are just going to overeat.
Yeah.
And then in that overeating stage, we tend to choose foods that are not as healthy. But I mean, as we sit here, we all know what is healthy foods or what are unhealthy foods.
Yeah.
Yet in those situations, we still choose the unhealthy foods. So my question is always why, you know? I think really it's because when you're in a stressful situation or when you feel stressed, you tend to not want to make food or just get into some effort things, you know? You just want to do things that are quick and easy. And so we tend to choose foods that are more convenient or it's ready-made.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, most of those ready-made foods are packed with high carbs, high saturated fats and salt as well.
So is that the reason that you're just disinterested, I suppose, in making healthy choices? I always thought that your body was actually craving the sugar and the salt when it's going through stress.
Well, that's another part of it. So what I mentioned before was just one part, and then the other part is your body. So your body is also made up of all these hormones.
Yeah.
So 3 in particular are the cortisol that was mentioned before, ghrelin, which sounds almost like a gremlin.
Yeah.
And then serotonin.
It is a little gremlin.
And then serotonin as well.
Yeah.
So the cortisol is going to be increased in times of stress.
So cortisol is the stress hormone.
Yeah. So we do need cortisol.
Yeah.
So people shouldn't think that it's a bad hormone altogether.
Yeah.
But with chronic or continuous stress, high cortisol.
Okay, so let's go through the 3.
Yes.
So cortisol is the stress hormone.
Yes.
Okay, but we need a little bit of it.
Yeah. And cortisol is even secreted during our sleep because we need to almost have something going on in our body while we're sleeping. Otherwise, how does the systems carry on working?
Really?
Yeah.
Do you think that affects dreams and having nightmares when you're getting cortisol? Because I think there's a lot of cortisol going through my body at night, and then I have a nightmare.
Well, I don't think I'm equipped to talk about that part, but I'm sure it must have some kind of link because at the end of the day, food is linked to everything else, you know. So the cortisol.
Yeah. Then the next one was the gremlin, but what is the proper word for that?
Ghrelin. So that hormone will influence you to feel hungry or not full, actually.
Okay.
And then the other one is the serotonin. So
Which is your happy hormone.
Yeah. So when you're eating carbs, and then your serotonin goes up. So there's almost this vicious cycle. So the cortisol will want you to eat more. The ghrelin will tell you, listen, I'm not full, eat more.
Yeah.
And then the serotonin is there to say, listen, oh, that carbs that you just ate now was fabulous. Just have some more. So you're in this vicious cycle of being stressed and then eating badly and making unhealthy choices.
Yeah.
And then again, the food companies also need to come into play here because they need to sell foods, and all the foods that we are eating is made for us to feel this wonderful sensation of like, wow, that was so melt in your mouth.
But in the long term, it makes you feel worse. Like I know that when you're feeling depressed and your boyfriend breaks up with you and you hate your job and you hate your life, all you want to do is reach for the ice cream bucket. But then actually that sugar will then make you feel even more down, and then your digestive system's not going to function with that either. So you're just going to get worse and worse and worse, and then spiral and feel worse.
Definitely, and that's again when we look at enzymes in the body and again at hormones. So if you're going to eat too much sugar,
obviously your sugar in the blood or the blood glucose levels increases. And when that increases, it goes up like whoosh, and it comes down again very quickly.
Yeah. But this can get a lot worse than just feeling a little bit stressed and binge eating on rubbish, because you can sometimes get, and I mean you can confirm this, get what's known as leaky gut syndrome from stress.
Yeah.
So what is that?
So that is just when your body cannot deal with the food that's in your gut.
Yeah.
And again, malabsorption occurs, like I've mentioned before. And when that does occur, the body almost can't hold the food anymore.
Yeah.
And so everything just, I mean, I don't want to be too graphic.
No, you can be graphic, because nothing is literally, like no nutrients are being retained by your body.
Yeah.
And then you get sick, bloated.
So it's almost a form of diarrhea. And I mean, if this is constant, imagine all these good nutrients that keeps on leaving your body, and eventually you're going to have deficiencies.
Wow.
And then,
So this can get really bad. And of course, if your gut isn't functioning properly, your brain isn't going to function properly.
Definitely.
And then everything in your life is just going to spiral.
The gut is known as the other brain in the body, and if that doesn't work, it can lead to many diseases. Alzheimer's and Parkinson's is even linked to the gut not working properly.
Cancer, even.
Yes,
So you literally are what you eat.
Yes.
Okay, so now when we're feeling a little bit depressed and a little bit low at work, and you're stressed and you want to pull your boss's hair out and you want to reach for the crisps and the chocolate, what should you do instead?
So
even if you don't feel like it.
Well, there's 4 things I would say you need to ask yourself. So number 1, when you're looking at that crispy fries or the creamy donuts.
Oh, the nachos, that's my stress go-to.
Or the milk tarts. Ask yourself, how do I feel at this moment? Do I feel emotional? And then the next question I would ask is, what time did I eat last? Because we obviously need to eat every 3 to 4 hours just to keep our blood sugar levels normal. So if you've eaten like an hour before that and now you want to eat again, most probably it's not hunger. It's emotional. I mean, boredom is also an emotion.
But what about the reverse of that? Because I'm one of those people who eats my feelings when I'm stressed. How can I train myself to be one of those that, you know, those girls who forget to eat? I want to be one of those. How do I become that?
I don't think I would advise that to everyone.
No, I'm joking.
But it's just to make sure that you eat at the right times and that you eat your main meals especially. And that's where breakfast also comes in. That breakfast needs to be eaten every day because it's going to help with the cortisol levels to almost maintain that or to normalize it.
Do you think by starving the body you can actually also give it stress?
Yes, you can, because these systems, they need nutrients to perform. So how does one system work if it doesn't have the functioning tools to do its job? And so you almost stop different systems in the body to do its job.
So when you're feeling low and you have depression, it's linked, you then will then eat badly. Do you think eating badly can lead to depression and anxiety?
Most definitely. I would say it's both sides of the coin. Eating badly can make you feel a certain way, but obviously there are people that has a genetic problem that could put them into that situation or make them feel anxious or depressed. But definitely food does play a big role in that.
Do you have like a little list to give us of absolute food no-nos that you know that are foods that lower the body's serotonin? Like, are there foods that can actually make you feel low? Because I know chocolate, and I'm not speaking about the bad chocolate, I'm speaking about pure chocolate, actually does shoot your serotonin up. It does make you a better person.
So yeah, at the end of the day, most foods, especially your carb foods and your bad foods, if I may say, is going to push up your serotonin levels. The healthy foods may not push it up really that much, but it's not going to bring it down. So we just need to look at how quickly the serotonin is being pushed up. Because if it drops again very quickly, then it puts you back in depression or in a stressful mode.
But like sugar, you know, when it lifts your energy and then drops you again, is it doing that to your hormones as well?
Yes, most definitely, it's doing that. So it's, at the end of the day, we need to eat to maintain normal levels. We need to eat eat the right amounts every day, and the right amounts is just have your meals at the same times every day and between 4 hours.
So if you must cheat, dark chocolate.
Okay, yes. Yeah.
Thank you so much for being
pleasure.
here. Very great conversation, very
Thank
interesting.
you.
I've learned so much.
Pleasure.
Now, we asked you from the top of the show, what do you do daily to de-stress and kind of keep those stress levels down? We've got a top fan here, Donald Don Mpule, saying, look, I pay attention more to my work and I try to stay positive all the way. And Angel Mguni says, I eat fruit, talking about food, and listen to my favorite music. Umandisa Klaba, who is another top fan, used the hashtag Afternoon Express, and she carries on by saying, I exercise or read a book to de-stress. Definitely, I need to get on that reading tip. But we wrap up the chat on the importance of a holistic support system within the workplace with our experts after the break. So hop onto social media, use the hashtag Afternoon Express, and shoot any questions or comments that you want to give to our experts, and we'll be here to answer. See you after the break.
What does it mean to be the face of Ponds? A few words come to mind. Empowered. Glamorous. With new opportunities. And if you think you have what it takes, simply enter by purchasing any Ponds product and visiting faceofponds.co.za to upload your photo, your bio, and the last 4 digits of your product's unique barcode. I am the face of Ponds. Are you?
Welcome back to Afternoon Express. So we are back on the couch with psychiatrist Professor Renata Skuman, HR specialist Cindy Hendricks, and dietitian Kim Rutgers. And we're continuing our conversation on how to manage your personal and professional lives. So I love this conversation. Yeah. I can speak about it all day because I really believe that happiness is the most important thing. Being happy is the most important feeling that you could have, especially at work. So I think everybody everybody has stress. Everybody deals with stress. How do you know then when you're depressed, when it's more than just I'm feeling a little bit low? How do you know when it goes that extra step?
So the two core things, as I mentioned earlier, would be either having a depressed mood, so feeling sad and down, and or a loss of interest and joy and pleasure. So you stop doing, or you're not interested in doing the things that you used to enjoy. That is the two core things that need to be there. And obviously it needs to be there for a significant portion of time. So it's not like I have a bad day today. It needs to be there for a 2-week period. I always say if it's feeling bad for 3 days in a row, then start to worry.
And as an HR specialist, I mean, I'm sure you have lots of suggestions as how to boost up the morale and have that company culture be vibey. I mean, a lot of people do the Friday braais. A lot of people, you know, do that after work get together. How much does that play a part in boosting the morale and the togetherness of the company?
I think it's important to have fun at work, and so companies should not, they should have enough of those activities. They should definitely promote wellness within the workplace, with wellness days. They should have employee assistance programs where they can assist employees and refer them to psychiatric treatment, or if they've gone through any traumatic experiences, financial difficulty as well. So I think the company has a responsibility and an obligation to promote and educate people on wellness.
I wonder if you could answer this, but I mean, how does the law support companies and employees in the workplace? And I'm speaking specifically about women. Like, if you fall pregnant and you have your leave, I mean, I always believe that the happier and the more secure people are at work, then the more productive they're going to be. So, I mean, how does the law look after people and their happiness, I suppose, in the workplace?
So there are a number of things in the Basic Conditions of Employment Act that protects employees. So pregnancy is one of those things. Discrimination, the Employment Equity Act protects people against any form of discrimination. While mental health is not particularly a thing, but somebody could have a particular illness or stigma attached.
We were chatting about that a little bit earlier. Like, if somebody does suffer from depression or any kind of mental illness, what is their allowance, I suppose, of days off? Or, I mean, if you're not able to go to work, and I mean, how do you draw the line as to what's acceptable and what's?
So that's where companies.
How do you deal with it?
That's where companies have an opportunity to assist employees. So there's the Basic Conditions of Employment that give, the very basic, like it says. So 30 days when someone's sick, 3 days when someone needs family responsibility. So that's where companies can boost that, and they can increase that, and they can give you more than what the law actually allows. Because there are various situations people find themselves in. So companies shouldn't just be rigid and focus on what the law says. You've got to look at your industry, you've got to look at your employees and the type of work that they do, and you've got to then adopt your policies to cater for that.
Now, in terms of food and the relaxed energy that is in the work from both of you ladies, I mean, a lot of people, I think it's in China, where they literally have an hour after lunch to sleep. I mean, just like a sleep break. But then at the same time, that they have seen that is quite productive, because, you know, they call it, what's a lunchtime slump?
And in Spain, they have a siesta.
A siesta.
And in Italy, they have a 2-hour lunch break where people actually go home to their families and all have lunch together.
Wow.
I love that. How lovely is that?
I think that's a nice way to kind of play with it, but at the same time, you don't want your employees taking advantage. You want to make sure that at the end of the day, if we do give you this freedom, you are delivering.
I would be more productive at home. No, I think in an office environment, I think I'd be more productive working from home. But I think that's the best part about 2019, is so many more people are able to work remotely.
But a lot of people who do have children find that, especially now during the holiday season, the children come, Mommy, because I know you're home.
I can't wait to be in an office again.
They're like, take me back. All of a sudden, they miss the traffic. But I mean, ladies, I know you're a new mom. How are you balancing it? Or rather, you introduced a new member to your family 3 months ago. Congratulations.
Thank you.
How has it been?
So I'm struggling with the school holidays because I've got a 6-year-old and the 3-month-old. So I am having that, Mommy. But it is about striking that balance. And I think also, working for myself, I do want to have an opportunity to do some work and get away from that. But it's also important to spend the time with the family. And so it's just about striking that balance and finding what works for you. But 3 weeks of school holidays are very long.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind a 3-week holiday. Prof, I just want to ask, I mean, the world is changing so quickly. Just some tips and ideas on how we can make the workplace a much more pleasant environment. Like I know in some places they do mental health pets, where you can take your pets to work. That is a great idea. I know we do that in this office. It's a zoo in here.
I think the problem is, what do you do if other employees are very worried or very scared of pets? So it's always there, who do you accommodate?
Shame, they're going to have to leave.
Yeah, it's about reasonable accommodation. But I think that is the whole thing about employers to be reasonable and to be good leaders and to create a healthy organisation that can promote wealth and again for the employees. But employees have responsibilities, and just 5 tips that I always teach my students and my patients is the acronym SEEDS: sleeping, exercise, educate, your diet, and don't forget to socialise. And that is enough to keep you resilient.
Nowadays, there's a huge buzzword around self-care, and I think it's such an important message that we're seeing now a lot online, is being busy and being too busy actually isn't cool anymore. You've got to learn when to say no, create boundaries with work so that you can take care of yourself. What are some ideas to implement that within yourself?
The one thing that I do, also having more than one career, is I literally schedule time in my diary. So I make an appointment with myself, gym or run, and it's highlighted and color-coded, and that is my time. And I will work patients and other appointments around it. Otherwise, it's not going to happen.
I mean, Doc, you and Rihanna, same WhatsApp group. Rihanna actually just came out of this latest interview saying that she does the same thing. She puts the letter P, and that means it's a personal day. Do not call me, do not text me, and I can absolutely imagine how that's working for you.
Absolutely, and the other thing is we often waste time. If you think in 15 minutes, how many times in a day do you think it's only 15 minutes, and you go onto social media? But you can do a lot for yourself in 15 minutes. You can move around, you can walk, you can drink water, you can crochet, you can do whatever you can, but 15 minutes all add up if you add it up during the day.
Amazing. Beautiful. Thank you so much for being here. We are all feeling so much more relaxed, de-stressed. Tomorrow we're all going to take a personal day. Joking. We're going to be back tomorrow because we meet one of my favorite artists, Nelson Makamo. He's amazing. He had the honor of gracing the Time Magazine February cover. He's going to be right here in the loft. We'll see you then. Good night and God bless.
Afternoon Express, made with love by Clover.
Another feel-good production.